They don't have a blocker there. I don't think I need to block this. We find another Elvish Archdruid, and that's just win. They scoop. Cool, good game. No fancy tricks there, just elves doing elves. Alright, so here we are with elves, Mono-Green Elves. This has been my preferred way to go from gold at the start of a season back up into diamond very quickly. Games last a very short amount of time. You're doing a couple of core paths with this deck, trying to ramp up, build big boards, build big elves, and then win the game. Core cards here, Llanowar Elves, just a must of. Play whatever art you prefer on these. Elf Druid, tap for a forest. So good. We can go turn 1 that. Turn 2 Elvish Archdruid. Other elf creatures you control get +1/+1 taps for mana for each elf you control. This is so big. Lets us get tons of mana. I have seen these easily tapping for 9 mana each turn, though I'd say on average you're probably seeing 3, maybe 4, but that lets you play basically everything in your hand out and onto the field. And that pretty much wins you the game. Couple of other important cards here. We've got more Lords here in Visionary, which also doubles as a draw card, or draw engine. We also got Perfect, which gives our elves +1/+1, and can tap to create a green elf token, which can trigger Wildborn Preserver. Wildborn Preserver, flash reach 2/2, +1/+1 every time a creature enters. You can pay X and put X +1/+1 counters on this creature. Super relevant with something like Elvish Archdruid, where we can tap for something like 9 or more. Wildborn Preserver can get really big and protects us from those evasive flying creatures. Some other cards here. Stalwart is probably one of the weakest cards in this deck. Tap another creature or artifact, add 1 mana. This is fine. It does the thing. Sometimes it's super relevant and saves your butt, but it's never my favorite card. It's never the card I'm excited to see in the game either. Definitely, if I was going to remove cards, I would probably start with Stalwart, but 1-drops are relevant in this deck. Hard-hitting question, this lets us deal damage equal to a creature that we control to another target creature or planeswalker. Really important for some of the control decks, often lets us remove the defender and get in for lethal. Really good card to have. I don't think I'd ever remove any of these, but I might add something like Monstrous Emergence or Bite Down in addition to it if I felt it was relevant. Right now, I think there's too many control decks to afford to go more than 4. Royal Treatment helps us protect some of our lords. Let's see, Elite. Elite is really important because it creates an additional elf if this comes in while there's another elf on the field. That means that at its mana cost, it actually pays for itself with Elvish Archdruid because you play Elite after Archdruid is already down, and you gain 2 more mana because you have 2 more elves. Really strong. Pummeler. This is one of the cards I've thought about going up to a 2 of. You can play this, tap another creature, and it gains Indestructible. Really good against other aggro decks like Mono Red. So if you're seeing a lot of those, this is where I would think to go up to a 2 of. Try to get that in more reliably. Really, really powerful. And we often have enough mana to tap its 3 and 2 forest multiple times in a single turn, which just lets us get a absolutely massive board. Genesis Wave is the fun way to win in this deck. We are just getting all the mana possible and then tapping 3 and then paying X. And then we're going to go off the top of our library for X. Any permanent we find, we can play if it costs X or less. Super, super powerful. With an Elvish Archdruid that's already up to 4 or 5 and a couple of lands on the game, or a Llanowar Elf, you can just tap your board, and all of a sudden you have a new second board already down. You'll hit multiple lands, you'll hit multiple other lords, you'll hit draw engines. So powerful. And generally, if you're casting this, even if you are behind when it comes down, you pretty much win the game. Very rare that you play this card and lose. And Banner of Kinship also does a lot of work. This is pretty much one of our other win cons. We kind of have 4 win cons. Banner of Kinship comes down, says, okay, for every elf you have, I'm going to give all your elves +1/+1. Now this does snapshot, meaning that if you have 2 elves, you will only ever get 2 +1/+1 power to all your creatures from then on, whereas if you have 5, you'll then get 5 for the rest of the turn. This often makes in the late game, if you're top decking your Llanowar Elves, your Stalwarts, +3 or 3/3s or 5/5s, and it can often come down and just ruin the board for your opponent by saying, okay, all my creatures now get 9/9 in addition to whatever the base power is, in a locked up stalemate kind of game. So really powerful, definitely turns the tide. Soulstone is just a land that turns into a 3/3 elf with vigilance. Really relevant. very powerful because we don't have Vigilance anywhere else in the deck. So how are you winning with this deck? Generally, you're going Llanowar Elf into one of your lords, especially Elvish Archdruid, and then building out a big +1/+1 board before your opponent can respond. Certain routes with this deck, certain lines can certainly become 20 damage turn 4, turn 5, which often goes under control decks if they play even just a little bit slow. Alternatively, we're getting creatures down like the Pummeler, and we are just out-creaturing something like Mono Red, where we can trade multiple of our cards for one of theirs and then get more value later on. Some other lines are going into Genesis Wave, hitting out a bunch of creatures off that, going Banner of Kinship, making our cards even bigger, Preserver getting super huge, and then just going over your opponents as like a 40-40 kind of deal. But often the way we're winning is wide with Lords. All right, let's see how it plays. Okay, so we have Forest, Llanowar Elf, Wildborn Preserver, Elvish Archdruid. This is an insta-keep. Llanowar Elf into Elvish Archdruid wins games. Now, they could bolt Bird, they could bolt the Archdruid. We'll see what they do. They've got Swamp, but they don't reveal Elvish Archdruid pressure. So we're going to go Preserver into Stalwart. Really build up that board a bit here. And really what I'm checking for is A, do they have removal they're willing to use on any of this? And B, can I get the extra land for the royal treatment? Looking at the Llanowar Elves going, okay, what's going on here? Thinking about killing the Preserver. I'm totally fine with that, considering I can then drop Elvish Archdruid, still swing in for 2. They say Vadmir, New Blood. Okay. Not what you want. Couple of options here. We can go Elite, bump Wildborn Preserver up by 1. I think that's fine. We take action. We say +1. We tap the Llanowar. We decline the second one. And then we swing. We actually still have access to Royal Treatment if they do something really funky. Which I suppose means we could have played the Elvish Archdruid. Thanks to the Stalwart, who is probably one of the weaker cards in this deck, but does occasionally come in useful. Maybe thinking about trying to kill the Preserver. It does grow faster than their card. For sure. Vadmir, rare, but can only get +1/+1. Alright. Go ahead and resolve that. We are going to Royal Treatment that. I don't like it. They could get him for 3 here if they want. They choose not to. I think that's fine. We play Elvish Archdruid. We have no protection for it now. That's fine. We are going to take 2. I'm going to tap you for green, tap you, submit, auto pay with the Llanowar. You go up to a 7. We're going to swing 10. 10 mana, certainly not bad. They go down to 7, and they should very much be concerned about next turn. I think even if they do remove Elvish Archdruid, I might have enough mana to go really wide. This is interesting. They can hit for 3, 6. They don't have a blocker there. I don't think I need to block this. We find another Elvish Archdruid, and that's just win. They scoop. Cool, good game. No fancy tricks there, just elves doing it. Alright, Dragonbard versus KY Tom. 3 Forest, hard-hitting question, Llanowar Elves, Royal Treatment, Elvish Archdruid. This is a fine keep. A little vulnerable. Right, we're going to be vulnerable turn 1 and turn 2. But if we can get past that, we have Elvish Archdruid and Llanowar Elves up, which is a strong spot to be in. They go non-creature. Now, we do have the option of waiting a turn, protecting our Archdruid, but blue-white is not a card set that really scares me on removal. There's a couple of options they do have, don't get me wrong. But authority we cancel lane at. Alright, so now we're in an interesting spot. I do think we Llanowar. We unfortunately give them the +1. Is what it is. We go in for 4. They have something. Smite. Fantastic. We will Royal Treatment. Get in for 5. Hopefully that's their only Smite hand at the moment. Ooh, okay. Okay. Yeah, they are playing a deck. So we're going to Wildborn Preserver here. it will come in tapped. They will get +1 life. But we get to come in for 7 this turn. And do we present lethal? We do present lethal right now. And we have hard-hitting question. They don't show us an answer. Okay. Do they have removal? Do they have it? They're looking at Elvish Archdruid. They gotta have something like an Unsummon or the fish one. Get lost. Okay. And then they pay the 1 ward. It does get lost. We're gonna flash this in then. And they get 1 life. We get 2 more damage. They go down to 5. Pretty scary spot for them to be in still. Sunfall. That sucks. That really sucks. We also did not hit the creature that we needed to go ahead and use those map tokens. They can now bring the Sunfall creature out at their whim. Royal Treatment doesn't do it. Fortunately, Sunfall might just stop us in our tracks here. 3 steps ahead, they copy it, get a 4/4, scry 2 more, keep both on top, which probably means they're more artifacts. Play a land, play Maze Mind Tome, that does not trigger. They go in for 5. They've got enough mana to still bring out the 4/4. We find Elite, just fine. It's an elf. We can also Royal Treatment it. They gain 1 life. We find land and an Elite. Do we keep the Elite? Does the Elite do enough? I think we keep the Elite. We do play that in this forest. No reason to keep it. Nothing we can do with the hard-hitting question. Alright, they draw a card. Put a counter. Unidentified hover ship. Okay, that's going to come down. We're in Royal Treatment, but they are too far ahead now. I don't know that we can stop them. Maybe a really amazing Genesis Wave gets us there. But I don't think so. We would need Chump Blocker after Chump Blocker after Chump Blocker into a Banner of Kinship. And somehow after all that, still have enough creatures left over. Both these are going to come in tapped. So that does nothing. Yep. Yep. That's game, right? Because then they swing and we can't block it. Yeah. GG. All right, in the next game, get the Llanowar Elves off the top. That's great. I think we keep this. We've got ramp potential into Banner of Kinship here. And even if they do kill our Llanowar, we actually still get to do Leaf Crown next turn, which is really good. If they are mono red, we might hold the flash. Heartfire Hero comes down. That is terrifying. Maybe we just hard-hitting question right here. And then save the Elvish Archdruid. I don't know. I really want Elvish Archdruid. I think we actually still do this. Because now we have 5 mana, turn 3. And I'm hoping what we can do with that is enough to gain an advantage and win. This could be up to 10 damage, I think. We'll see how this plays out. No blocks. We don't want to lose our Archdruid. They're not showing shock, which is really important. They go Monstrous Rage. That goes up to 4/5 face. Very painful. Stays a 3/3, which means we do need some answers. We can drop Leaf Crown, which I think is the right call here. And then I want to drop... I think... Ooh, we actually still have the Llanowar. So we can do Imperious. Decline the card draw. And then hard-hitting question. We will do Llanowar into this in case they have the extra power. If they don't, 3 damage face. Opponent is not happy about the shenanigans we're getting up to here. They're going to be even less happy when we do this and drop Banner of Kinship. Declare Elf. And swing for an absolute butt ton. This is lethal. And they say, I'm out of here. Well, making red decks very unhappy is a bonus.